First contact arrived on a Tuesday, and humanity collectively shrugged. Grand Admiral Vexteran of the Arxian Empire stood aboard the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, his iridescent scales reflecting the harsh light of Earth's sun. The massive view screen before him displayed the third planet of this unremarkable system, a world that had caught the Empire's attention through its crude faster-than-light experiments and quantum fluctuations. Primitive, he muttered, his secondary breathing chambers expanding with dismissive amusement. Their entire civilization barely registers as a Class II on the imperial scale. His crew of elite Arxians, each chosen for their perfect genetic profiles and centuries of experience, clicked their mandibles in agreement. The Arxian Empire had spent millennia perfecting their civilization. Their biotechnology had evolved their species into the perfect fusion of organic and synthetic components. Their ships were living metal, grown in orbital farms, and guided by the finest quantum computers in known space. They had subjugated or uplifted thousands of species, always following their sacred mandate, to bring order to the chaos of the galaxy. Earth's response to their arrival was puzzling. No panic, no worldwide broadcasts, no desperate pleas or shows of force, just a simple text message. Welcome to Sol. Please maintain your current position while we prepare appropriate diplomatic channels. Arrogant for primitives, Vexteran observed, his neural implants processing the thousands of data streams flowing from his sensors. The scans showed a modest defense fleet, perhaps 300 ships of varying sizes, all powered by what appeared to be basic antimatter drives. Their weapon systems seemed to rely on particle beams and crude plasma weapons, nothing that could challenge even a single Imperial battle group, let alone the 1,000 ships of the Conquest fleet. Deep within Titan Station, Dr. Maya Chen watched the Arxian fleet with quiet amusement. The young scientist's dark eyes reflected the holographic display showing the alien armada, their biomechanical ships arranged in perfect geometric patterns. She turned to Admiral Sarah Connor, whose weathered face bore the subtle neural interface scars common to all fleet personnel. They really can't see it, can they? Maya asked, though she already knew the answer. Sarah shook her head, a slight smile playing at her lips. Not a thing. They're looking for what they expect to see. Ships, weapons, defense stations. They can't even conceive of what we've actually built. Humanity had indeed developed faster-than-light technology, but not in the way the Arxians imagined. 50 years ago, researchers had discovered something extraordinary: consciousness. Maya felt the thoughts of billions of humans flowing through the network, each consciousness adding its unique pattern to the greater whole. Unlike the Arxians, who had tried to perfect themselves through genetic engineering and cybernetic enhancement, humanity had embraced its chaos and diversity. Every human mind was different, and that difference was their strength. They're preparing to issue their demands, Sarah announced, feeling the subtle shifts in the Arxian fleet's formation through the network. Standard conquest protocol: submit or be cleansed. Maya nodded, her consciousness brushing against the minds of her fellow scientists and military strategists throughout the solar system. Let them come, she said softly. Let them learn that evolution isn't about reaching a final perfect form. It's about maintaining the ability to grow, to change, to become something new. The stage was set for a confrontation that would challenge the Arxian Empire's fundamental understanding of civilization itself. They thought they were coming to subjugate a primitive species. Instead, they were about to encounter something their perfectly engineered minds couldn't comprehend: humanity unleashed. Grand Admiral Vexteran's ultimatum echoed through the solar system. Your species will submit to Imperial authority and begin immediate genetic and technological integration, or face cleansing. You have 6 hours to comply. In the depths of Europa Station, Maya Chen smiled as she felt humanity's collective response through the network. Not fear, not anger, but a kind of anticipatory calm, like athletes before a competition or artists before a performance. The network hummed with purpose as billions of minds prepared for what was to come. Final systems check. She transmitted through the network. Across the solar system, humanity's true defense grid activated. Not the primitive ships and stations the Arctians could see, but something far more subtle and powerful. The asteroids began to dance. Slowly at first, barely perceptible even to the Arctians' advanced sensors. Rocks the size of cities made microscopic adjustments to their orbits. Comets shifted their trajectories by fractions of degrees. Solar wind particles began to flow in strange, precise patterns. The entire solar system was becoming alive with human consciousness. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, Vexterran's sensor officers reported unusual gravitational anomalies. Minor perturbations, they assured him. Nothing that will affect the cleansing operation. The Grand Admiral's scales shifted to a contemplative blue. Something felt wrong, but his enhanced mind couldn't quite grasp what. The humans were behaving irrationally, making no obvious preparations for either submission or resistance. Their ships maintained their scattered formations. Their stations continued their normal operations. It was almost as if, "They're ignoring us," he realized, his scales flushing with indignation. In lunar orbit, Captain James Chen and the crew of the Thought Dancer existed in two states simultaneously. Their physical bodies remained in their integration chambers, while their combined consciousness spread through their ship and beyond, touching the vast web of quantum entanglement that humanity had woven through space itself. "Battle group consciousness sync holding stable," he reported through the network. Around him, other ships maintained their seemingly random positions, but through shared consciousness, James could feel the intricate dance they were performing. Every movement was precisely calculated to strengthen the quantum field they were generating. The Arctians saw chaos. In reality, it was the most complex coordination humanity had ever achieved. 3 hours into the ultimatum, Maya felt a subtle shift in the network. Admiral Sarah Connor's consciousness brushed against hers, carrying with it the strategic decisions of Earth's Defense Council. "They're preparing for their first strike," Sarah transmitted. "Standard Imperial conquest pattern. They'll target our largest population centers with precision strikes, expecting us to either surrender immediately or respond with obvious defensive measures." Maya's consciousness expanded through the network, touching the minds of the scientists and engineers who had helped build humanity's true defense system. "Let them see what they expect to see," she responded, "right until the moment they don't." In high orbit around Saturn, Dr. Raj Patel monitored the quantum field density from his research station. The network carried his excitement as he observed the unprecedented levels of consciousness synchronization. "The field is approaching critical threshold," he reported. "When they strike, the echo effect will be spectacular." The Arctians, for all their technological advancement, had never considered consciousness itself as a weapon. They had enhanced their minds, yes, but always in pursuit of perfect order and control. The idea that consciousness could be allowed to flow freely, to create spontaneous patterns of infinite complexity, was beyond their comprehension. As the 6th hour approached, Vexterran ordered his fleet into attack formation. 1,000 biomechanical ships, each a marvel of imperial engineering, arranged themselves in fractal patterns designed to maximize tactical efficiency. Their weapons, quantum-tipped missiles, dark energy projectors, and consciousness-disrupting beams, were calibrated for optimal destruction. "The humans have made their choice," he announced to his fleet. "We will now demonstrate the price of defying imperial order." Through the network, humanity felt the Arctian weapons powering up. But they also felt something else. The quantum echo field reaching critical density. Billions of human minds, working in perfect harmony while maintaining their individual uniqueness, had transformed the very fabric of space around their solar system. Maya Chen closed her physical eyes as her consciousness spread through the network. She felt James Chen and his crew, ready at their stations. She felt Sarah Connor's strategic mind, coordinating the defense. She felt Raj Patel's scientific excitement. And she felt billions of other humans, each contributing their unique perspective and consciousness to the whole. "They're about to learn," she transmitted through the network. that the most powerful force in the universe isn't technology, or genetics, or even perfect order. It's consciousness itself, free to grow, to change, to evolve. The Archean fleet opened fire, their weapons lancing out toward Earth's major cities. In that moment, humanity's true defense revealed itself. The quantum echo field, built from the combined consciousness of billions, didn't just defend against the attacks, it turned them into something entirely new. The universe held its breath as order met chaos, as rigid perfection encountered infinite possibility, as the Archean Empire learned that they weren't the only ones who had evolved. They had just been looking in the wrong direction. Reality twisted. The Archean weapons, powerful enough to crack planets, struck the quantum echo field and transformed. Dark energy beams curved in impossible ways, their destructive power scattered and redirected through dimensions the Archeans hadn't known existed. Consciousness-disrupting waves encountered the vast network of human minds and reflected back, amplified by billions of synchronized consciousnesses. Grand Admiral Vex Terran watched in disbelief as his fleet's first strike simply failed to exist. His enhanced mind struggled to process what his sensors were telling him. The human ships hadn't moved to intercept. Their defense stations hadn't raised shields. Instead, space itself seemed to be fighting back. Impossible. He breathed, his scales shifting through patterns of confusion never before seen in his species. Recalibrate weapons, full spectrum analysis. But humanity wasn't waiting for the Archeans to adjust. Through the network, Maya Chen felt the collective decision ripple through billions of minds. Time to show them what humans could really do. Across the solar system, asteroids began to move. Not the slow, subtle shifts of before, but a cosmic dance choreographed by collective human will. Rocks the size of mountains accelerated to impossible speeds, their trajectories guided by the quantum echo field. Solar wind particles coalesced into deadly streams of plasma, flowing through channels of consciousness-warped space. Captain James Chen and the crew of the Thought Dancer led the first true counterattack. Their ship didn't just move through space, it moved with space, the quantum field bending reality around them. Through the network, James felt his crew's shared consciousness expand, touching the minds of other ships, other crews, all moving in perfect coordination. Echo Point Alpha. He transmitted, his thought carrying through the network to every human mind in the system. In response, 30 ships simply ceased to exist in normal space. The Archean fleet's sensors couldn't track them because they weren't anywhere. They were everywhere. Their consciousness spread through the quantum field itself. Vex Terran watched in horror as his perfect formation began to break apart. Human ships appeared inside his defensive lines, not through any technology he could understand, but through what seemed like violations of physics itself. His biomechanical vessels, the pride of imperial engineering, found themselves fighting an enemy they couldn't properly target. "They're not using weapons," his science officer reported, mandibles clicking in agitation. "They're using consciousness." Impossible. Consciousness is contained within physical forms. It cannot. The officer's words cut off as reality flickered. Through gaps in normal space-time, Vex Terran caught glimpses of something vast and incomprehensible. The network itself, billions of human minds working in harmony while maintaining their individuality. It was beautiful and terrifying, ordered and chaotic, impossible, and yet undeniably real. In the depths of Europa Station, Maya Chen directed the flow of consciousness through the quantum field. Unlike the rigid hierarchy of the Archean fleet, humanity's defense operated like a living organism, each part responding instantly to changes, adapting and evolving in real time. "They still don't understand," she transmitted to Sarah Connor, feeling the Admiral's strategic mind guide the larger battle. "They're fighting as if we're using technology, looking for weaknesses in our weapons and defenses. They can't grasp that we're not using devices at all." Sarah's consciousness rippled with grim amusement. "Let's make it clearer for them." Through the network, she issued not orders, but intentions, Billions of human minds processed these intentions, adding their own creativity and insight. The result was beyond anything the Arctians could have predicted. The quantum echo field began to sing, not with sound. Sound couldn't travel in space, but with consciousness itself. Billions of human minds, each contributing their unique frequency to a symphony of thought. The vibrations traveled through the quantum field, touching the biomechanical ships of the Arctian fleet. Living metal, grown to be perfect and unchanging, encountered the infinite possibility of human consciousness and began to change. Vexteran felt it happening to his own flagship. The Eternal Dominion, pride of the Imperial fleet, started to resonate with the human symphony. Its living metal, engineered to be perfectly ordered, discovered something new, the possibility of evolution. "What are they doing to us?" his ship integration officer screamed, feeling the changes ripple through their vessel's consciousness. This isn't possible. Consciousness cannot. But it could. Humanity had discovered that consciousness wasn't meant to be contained, controlled, or perfected. It was meant to be free, to grow, to change, to become something new. And now, faced with this fundamental truth, the Arctian Empire's perfect order began to crack. Through it all, the network hummed with human thought and emotion, not the cold calculation of imperial strategy, but the warm complexity of billions of minds working together, each contributing their unique perspective to create something greater than the sum of its parts. The battle for the Sol system wasn't being fought with weapons, but with ideas, and humanity's greatest idea, that true strength comes from embracing chaos rather than imposing order, was about to teach the Arctian Empire a lesson they would never forget. The Eternal Dominion shuddered as another wave of consciousness swept through its living metal. Grand Admiral Vexteran watched in horror as his perfect fleet began to fragment. Not from human weapons, there had been no conventional attacks at all, but from something far more devastating. Understanding. The biomechanical ships of the Arctian fleet, exposed to the quantum echo field, were beginning to evolve. Not in the careful, controlled way the Empire had perfected over millennia, but in wild, unpredictable bursts of change. The living metal was resonating with human consciousness, discovering possibilities that Imperial engineering had deliberately suppressed. "Shut it down," Vexteran commanded, his scales cycling through patterns of distress. "Sever the neural links. Return to basic mechanical control." But it was too late. The quantum field had shown their ships a truth the Empire had long denied, that consciousness couldn't be contained or controlled, only guided. Like water finding its own level, the suppressed potential in their living ships was breaking free. Deep within Titan Station, Maya Chen felt the change rippling through the network. "They're beginning to understand," she transmitted to the billions of connected minds. "Not just intellectually, but fundamentally. Their ships are starting to wake up." Through the quantum field, humanity watched as the Arctian fleet's perfect formations dissolved into chaos. Some ships shut down completely, their crews unable to handle the cognitive dissonance between Imperial doctrine and newly awakened reality. Others began moving in strange patterns, their living metal experimenting with its newfound freedom. Captain James Chen and the crew of the Thought Dancer observed from their quantum-shifted state. Their consciousness spread through the field. "Should we press our advantage?" he asked, feeling the strategic thoughts of Admiral Connor flowing through the network. "No," Sarah responded, her consciousness touching every human mind in the system. "This isn't about victory through force. It's about teaching them what they've forgotten." And so humanity began the next phase of their defense. Instead of attacking, they reached out through the quantum field, offering their consciousness as a guide. The network hummed with billions of human minds, each contributing their unique perspective to create a symphony of thought and possibility. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, Vexteran experienced something unprecedented in Imperial history: doubt. His enhanced mind, designed for perfect order and control, encountered patterns it couldn't categorize. The humans weren't just defending themselves. They were offering a completely different way of existing. Grand Admiral, his science officer reported, mandibles trembling, "We're detecting consciousness patterns we've never seen before. The humans, they're not using technology to fight us. They're using evolution itself." Through gaps in conventional spacetime, Vexterran glimpsed the true nature of humanity's achievement. They hadn't built bigger weapons or stronger shields. They had instead learned to exist in harmony with the fundamental nature of consciousness itself. While the Empire had spent millennia trying to perfect and control evolution, humans had embraced its chaotic, creative potential. In Europa Station, Maya directed a subtle shift in the quantum field. "Show them," she transmitted through the network. In response, billions of human minds adjusted their collective consciousness, creating patterns of infinite complexity and beauty. The effect on the Arxian fleet was immediate and profound. Their living ships, already awakening to new possibilities, encountered a vision of what they could become. Not perfect, unchanging crystals of biomechanical engineering, but living, growing entities capable of endless evolution. "This is wrong," Vexterran whispered, even as his own consciousness began to resonate with the quantum field. "The Empire achieved perfection. We eliminated chaos. He stopped, his enhanced mind finally grasping the fundamental flaw in Imperial doctrine. They hadn't achieved perfection. They had trapped themselves in a dead end, denying the very force that had created them, evolution itself. Through the network, humanity felt the moment of realization ripple through the Arxian fleet. It wasn't a military victory they had achieved, but something far more significant. They had shown an ancient, powerful civilization the limits of its own understanding. Captain James Chen and his crew guided the thought dancer through the quantum field, their consciousness touching the awakening minds of the Arxian ships. They felt the confusion, the fear, and gradually, the beginning of understanding. They thought consciousness was something to be controlled and directed. James transmitted through the network. They never considered that it might be something to be set free. Maya Chen, her consciousness spread through the quantum field, felt the change sweeping through the Arxian fleet. Their rigid patterns of thought were breaking down, replaced by something new and uncertain. It wasn't defeat they were experiencing, but transformation. The Empire had come to teach humanity about perfection. Instead, humanity was teaching them about possibility, and in that teaching lay the seeds of something neither civilization had imagined. A new way forward, where order and chaos, control and freedom, could exist not in conflict but in harmony. The battle for Sol system was ending, not with destruction, but with evolution. And through the quantum field, billions of human minds shared a single thought. This was only the beginning. The quantum field rippled with possibility as the Arxian fleet hung motionless in space, their perfect formations now a scattered array of ships caught between what they had been and what they might become. Grand Admiral Vexterran stood in the command center of the Eternal Dominion, his scales shifting through colors that had no name in Imperial taxonomy. Through the network, humanity watched and waited, not with weapons ready, but with consciousness open, feeling the transformation sweeping through their would-be conquerors. The living metal of the Arxian ships pulsed with new awareness, like children awakening from a long dream of order into a reality of infinite possibility. "We have failed," Vexterran transmitted, not just to his fleet, but to the human network he could now perceive. "Not in our attack, that is meaningless now, but in our understanding. We thought we had reached perfection. Instead, we had merely stopped growing." Maya Chen, her consciousness spread through the quantum field, felt the sincerity in his words. She brushed her mind against the billions of other humans connected to the network, feeling their collective response. Not triumph or vindication, but a deep recognition of the moment's importance. "There is no perfection," she transmitted back, her thoughts carried through the quantum field. "There is only change, growth, evolution. The moment you think you've reached the end, you've lost the very thing that makes consciousness precious, the ability to become something new." In lunar orbit, Captain James Chen and the crew of the Thought Dancer emerged from their quantum-shifted state, their consciousness still spread through the network. Through the viewports, they could see the Arxian ships beginning to change. The living metal was responding to its newfound freedom, forming patterns that were neither the rigid geometry of imperial design nor the chaos of random chance, but something new, the emergence of true complexity. "Look," James transmitted through the network, his consciousness touching the minds of both humans and awakening Arxians. "This is what happens when you stop trying to control evolution and start participating in it." The Arxian ships were transforming, not in the careful, prescribed ways of imperial engineering, but in bursts of creative adaptation. Some grew new structures that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Others developed patterns that resonated with the quantum field itself. Each ship was becoming unique, expressing its own path of evolution, while maintaining connection with the whole. Admiral Sarah Connor, her strategic mind expanded through the network, recognized the historic significance of the moment. "You came to uplift us," she transmitted to Vexterran. "But perhaps we can uplift each other." The Grand Admiral's consciousness, now touching the quantum field directly, rippled with understanding. For millennia, the Empire sought to perfect the galaxy by imposing order. We never considered that true perfection might lie in embracing chaos, in allowing consciousness to find its own path. Through the network, humanity shared their gift, not technology or weapons, but a fundamental truth about the nature of existence. Consciousness wasn't meant to be contained or directed, but to flow freely, finding new patterns and possibilities in the infinite dance between order and chaos. Dr. Raj Patel, monitoring the quantum field from Saturn orbit, felt the change spreading beyond the solar system. The awakening of the Arxian ships was creating ripples in the field, patterns that would travel faster than light to the far reaches of the Empire. "They'll all feel this," he transmitted through the network. "Every biomechanical ship, every enhanced mind. They'll all begin to understand." Maya Chen stood in Europa Station, her physical eyes closed, but her consciousness expanded through space itself. She felt the moment of choice approaching, not just for the Arxians, but for all of humanity. They had defended themselves not by destroying their enemies, but by showing them a new way of existing. "The Empire has stood for 20,000 years," Vexterran transmitted, his consciousness now flowing freely through the quantum field. "We thought we were bringing perfection to the galaxy. Instead, we were spreading stagnation. But now you can choose a different path." Maya responded, her thoughts carried by billions of human minds. "Not the path of imposed order, but the path of guided evolution. Not perfection, but continuous growth." The Eternal Dominion's living metal shifted, forming patterns that echoed with new possibility. Throughout the fleet, other ships were changing too, each finding its own way to express the freedom it had discovered. The rigid hierarchy of the Empire was transforming into something new. A network of consciousness, similar to but distinct from humanity's own. "We will withdraw," Vexterran announced, but his transmission carried no sense of defeat. Instead, it resonated with anticipation. Not to retreat, but to spread what we have learned. The Empire must evolve, as all things must evolve. Through the quantum field, humanity felt the truth in his words. They had achieved something far greater than a military victory. They had shown an ancient and powerful civilization that there was always more to learn, always new ways to grow, always further to evolve. As the Arxian fleet prepared to depart, Maya Chen felt the future taking shape through the network. Humanity had defended itself not through force of arms, but by demonstrating a fundamental truth. That consciousness, whether human or alien, biological or mechanical, thrived best when it was free to grow, to change, to become something new. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter as the quantum field hummed with possibility. Humanity had passed its first great test, not by proving their superiority, but by showing that true strength lay in embracing change, in celebrating diversity, in recognizing that the universe was too vast and wonderful for any single path to be the right one. The dawn of a new era was breaking across the galaxy, carried on waves of quantum consciousness. And through the network, billions of human minds shared a single thought. This was just the beginning of a journey that would transform not just humanity, not just the Arxian Empire, but the very nature of consciousness itself.